So, welcome to the summer tour of the Eastlake Pea Patch expansion project. I'd like to begin by situating the location of the pea patch in the city a little bit. It's at 2900 Fairview Avenue, so here's Fairview Avenue, and in the distance you can see the Space Needle. And then over here, across Lake Union, is Gasworks Park. And over here, and that bridge behind the tree there is I-5. So hopefully with that information you can kind of triangulate yourself within the city. Now, Fairview Avenue is a great street. People walk along it with their dogs all the time, and here on the east side of the street there's this little mini park with some benches. Lots of people like to come here and take a break in the middle of their walk or run. But real destination here, the one I'm most proud of, is our pea patch. So from the street right now, because we're working on the expansion, it doesn't look like much. We have some crushed rock and area here where we put our concrete rubble, which is brought in by the Department of Transportation. It's just their spare stuff that after sidewalk removal that we get to use. You'll be seeing a lot of that. Here's our shed where the pea patch keeps its implements of destruction, as well as these wheelbarrows. We have some extra ones on hand to help with the expansion project, moving rubble and mixing concrete in them, whatnot. This sign says work party every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday, 10 till 2. The way the expansion project works is that volunteers come in, they put in hours go into timesheets that go in this nifty little box, and the people who put in the most time get first priority towards one of the new plots that they've built. So it's a real case of sweat equity. So welcome to our pea patch, Eastlake. Have to make sure to close this behind us. We don't want any other nefarious characters getting in. Now, one of the first things we completed on the expansion project were these raised beds. There's one here, and there are two existing ones, and then another two new ones that we built in behind. And these are really great. They're for people with reduced mobility, and they're raised up so you don't have to bend over to get at them, and there's enough space in between them for a wheelchair. And there's Valerie's plot. She wrote the grant application for the expansion project with the Department of Neighborhoods. And there's Marge's plot. Here's all that rubble that I was talking about. We sometimes like to call the expansion project Machu Picchu. So you had to pull up all these pieces of rubble by hand and set them into these walls. I should probably start by giving you a lay of the land here. Over here is the existing garden, over 20 plots. And then we're building the expansion in above it. So here we've put in some ecology blocks to create these terraces, where we're putting in 6 new plots. But in between there's this long section here, and that's where the food bank giving garden is. We've already started planting in it. We're actually quadrupling the amount of giving garden capacity we have, which I think is great. So we've finished a couple plots up here on the terraces. Here's Rain's plot, and here is my wife's plot, Rebecca, and she's putting in these ornamental plants along the front edge to gussy things up. And then we have radishes and cucumbers and green edible things, and then in back we have these tomato cages for our indeterminate tomato plants. Rain has some tomato cages too for her determinants, and we're hoping that the concrete wall back here is able to absorb and retain some heat, because tomatoes really like heat. So over here is a hose bib. That's how we get our water, and there's going to be a new bench put in over there. So here's the winding path, also known as the path of Sisyphus, because of all the rubble that's gone up and down it. There's a herb garden along the path. Now the winding path is more for moving up wheelbarrows and tools and implements. We've built this nice stairway as a shortcut for people who are just looking to go up and down with merely things in their hands. And the rail was built by Tom Naylor, who also built our new raised beds, and the stairs were built by this fellow named Sonny. Did an amazing job building them. And they lead up here to this area, which is the only uncapped area of the winding path right now. It's uncapped because we're going to be putting in a bench, and I really like the idea of this bench because from it you get, as you pan along here, you can see the winding path, the stairs, you can see the raised beds, you can see all the existing garden plots and the terrace plots, and also the 16 new plots which are coming up top here in this former alleyway, or a right-of-way anyway. Not sure if it was ever actually used as an alley. And these new plots are going to be, unlike the wooden existing plots and the terrace plots made out of concrete rubble, these are going to be made out of this nice granite material that we got from the Department of Transportation. It's just beautiful stuff. The only downside with it is that it was really, really heavy. And it took a lot of effort to move this stuff up here. So something I've learned on this project is that granite is really heavy. But it's good stuff, because unlike the wooden plots, because it's an organic garden and everything is untreated, the granite's just going to last. So you don't need to treat it like wood. We can't have treated wood in organic garden. So there's going to be a gate here, and there's this nice stairway that goes up to Eastlake Avenue. Rebecca and I actually live just on the other side of the street, so we just go across the street and walk down the stairs through the gate here, and we're at the pea patch. Alright, so on this north terrace, we're not quite done, but we've got half a plot in here. This is this is the Naylor's plot. The second half over here still hasn't been built yet. There's Jonathan Ezekiel's plot over here. He started planting half of it, and the back half is almost finished. And there's Claudia Drayling's plot back here, and she has it nicely set up with pavers to walk through and little makeshift benches and tomatoes in the back area. And you can see that we're going to be putting in hose bibs. These are irrigation lines sticking up at regular intervals. And that was a lot of work to dig all the trenches and lay the pipe so that the existing water line could be expanded all the way up the hill here. But it's going to be really, but it's all basically set up now. We have to put some bibs on the line, but the water flows, everything's charged and ready to go. So here's the north side of the Giving Garden, and this is incomplete, but you can see that when it's done, it's really going to have a lot of space. Even though it's narrow, you can just tell by walking along here, it just goes on and on and on. And it's, like I said earlier, going to quadruple our Giving Garden capacity. There's also this sort of middle section that's going to be expanded and filled in, as well as a path that's going to run up here to this nice bench underneath the arbor here. I'm just going to finish up by taking a look at some of the existing plots. This is a really great time to be in the pea patch. Here's Jean, one of our volunteers. Hi. She worked on the expansion a lot, and now she's gardening here. So it's a great time to be in the pea patch, great time of year. Flowers are in bloom, things are growing, and I hope that if you've enjoyed this little tour that you actually come down and visit us sometime.